Thank you all for joining me this morning. My name is Tia Lofton. I am the Infrastructure Program Manager for the Department of Economic Development and part of the CDBG DR or Disaster Recovery section. Today's webinar will be a walkthrough of the public assistance application and what some of the next steps will look like. Give me just a second here. All right. So our panelists can unmute and answer questions throughout the presentation. However, our attendees, you will need to use the chat to please put all of your questions in. If you need to vocalize a question, please raise your hand and I will be able to unmute you from my side for the question. We are also available for feedback at our DED.cdbgdr@nebraska.gov email if you have any additional questions or concerns. And we'll move through this as quickly as possible today. Happy Tuesday, everybody. First up on the agenda, we'll take a brief introduction of the infrastructure staff and provide some status updates on the program, review the application for funding process, and provide an overview of the next steps. We will conclude with a quick question and answer session. So again, my name is Tia Lofton. I am the Infrastructure Program Manager. My supervisor is Jenny B. Mason. She is our Recovery Director. Along with us, we have Erin Boucher, our Community Development Specialist, Susan Nickerson, our Disaster Recovery Coordinator, which will probably be your best friend through this process because she does most of the outreach to our local communities, and Christina Zink, who is our Housing and Program Manager. Next up on the agenda will be the program updates. This is where we get some of the exciting news. We have completed the first 2 stages of the match program and are moving into stages 3 and 4. The detailed vetting, or project vetting, and subrecipient selection and setup of funding will occur in stages 3 and 4, and these will occur in tandem. They're happening basically at the same time. After that, we will move on to stage 5, and this is where we move into the subrecipient payment phase, and then stage 6 will be the reconciliation and closeout phases. Now, since we're talking about public assistance, we understand that some of your projects are already closed out through FEMA and NEMA. This will make the process a little bit different, but throughout this presentation, we are not discussing those differences at the moment. So some of the program updates: the pre-application process for CDBG DR match funding served to facilitate DED's determination of eligibility and funding tier for submitted projects. Over the last few months, DED has been sending out notifications through our share file email. Ineligible projects were notified in October, and Tier 1 and Tier 2 followed in November, and the last of the Tier 3 just went out last week. So if you have not received an update on one of your projects, please reach out to us at the DED.cdbgdr@nebraska.gov email, and we will figure out what happened. Also, if you have any problems getting into the share file email, please let us know immediately at the DED.cdbgdr@nebraska.gov email. The tiering was based on the HUD-defined most impacted and distressed areas, as well as low to moderate income, or LMI, for our national objective. If contact information has changed, we do need that updated as we move into the application phase. Some more updates. DED began to adopt the FEMA environmental review process, and that will alleviate the applicant from having to redo or duplicate the environmental review. We have begun the detailed eligibility review for each project, and DED will be drafting the application for funding by project tier. So tier ones will receive their applications first for review, followed by tier 2 and tier 3. And DED has signed a subrecipient agreement with NEMA, which we'll discuss a little bit later as we move through the presentation. By NEMA and DED entering into a subrecipient agreement, it will simplify the process for application as we move forward. NEMA has signed a subrecipient agreement with DED and will act as the subrecipient for the CDBG DR FEMA match program. The stages in this will be that NEMA has become the primary entity responsible for documentation. Most of your documentation has been given to NEMA. However, if there are missing pieces of documentation or updates, DED will reach out directly to the applicant to get that information. Once all the information has been provided and we move into the closeout phase, NEMA will submit an invoice for the entire 10% of the CDBG funding and will transfer the 5% of the local match. And once again, this will occur at closeout and hopefully within 10 days of closeout. Applicants are responsible for providing all additional or missing information required by the CDBG DR program. As a subrecipient, NEMA will be the primary entity responsible for providing documentation. I've already covered that. I apologize. I have my computer screen set up differently today to try to hit all the talking points, and apparently I'm repeating myself. So I apologize. Once the application process is completed and FEMA has closed out the project, NEMA will submit an invoice. This is similar to the slide prior. And again, we'll be sending the entire 10% to NEMA to replace 5% to the GEF and 5% to the local match. DED will track this process and keep applicants informed when invoices have been submitted and when they're expected to be paid. This will help expedite the process by utilizing the existing relationships with NEMA. Moving on to the application for funding process. So DED will assist applicants by providing a draft of your fully completed application. It will be important for the applicant to review and make sure that all of the information is correct prior to digitally signing the document. You will start to receive your drafted applications between January and March of next year. And again, please make sure that all of the information is correct before signing the document. And Allison, would you like to discuss quickly the digital signature and how that will change the ability to edit the form?
Sure. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Great. Yeah, so the application template drafted will be coming in to the applicants in an Excel format, and we will provide instructions step by step on how to do the signature through Excel. So you will be able to digitally sign instead of having to print out the document and then having to upload. So the way it will work is if edits need to be made to the application, and that will be explained in the instructions on the document, you could provide those edits before you have your chief elected official signing the document so that they don't have to sign it twice. You could send back the edits to DED. DED will then review and confirm that the application is then ready to be signed. And then you'll be able to just have to do that signature page once. And so we'll set it up in a format so that when it is sent back to you and ready to be signed, all you have to do is do the signature. You don't need to edit further or move any tabs around or anything like that, because the document will, and this will be in the instructions, will then be locked once you have the signature. So again, there will be steps for that, and that will then be uploaded into ShareFile the same way as the pre-application process went. The application will be uploaded into ShareFile for DED to then view.
Thank you, Allison. So once everything has been reviewed and all of the subsequent information has been edited, and if there are any outstanding questions after we've gone back and forth a couple of times, we'll probably do a one-on-one meeting with you, similar to what occurred during the pre-application process, with specific questions that were specific to your projects. Once that's completed and the signed application is updated, it'll be out for final review. So the roles and responsibilities as we move forward, again, DED will be drafting the applications for each of the applicant projects, but it will be up to the applicant to review the draft and verify that all of the information is correct. DED will be using all of the available information that we have received from NEMA and from Grants Portal. If you have updates on budgets that are not reflected in information available on Grants Portal, please let us know that that has changed. The applicant will then fill any remaining gaps and provide additional information. And then we upload it for your final review, and you guys have your chief elected official sign off on the document. Shown here are the sections of the application for funding template. Please note that while DED is drafting the application, however, it needs to read through the applicant's eyes as though the applicant is writing it. So please make sure that as you read the document, that it reads in a way that you understand it and would have reflected it in your application. DED will focus on the HUD federal portions of the application. For example, the national objective, and applicants are to provide additional details in the scope of work and project tieback to Winter Storm Ulmer, which would be the flooding of 2019. On the next few slides, we'll highlight key portions of the application and discuss the applicant's role. So the main concern for most of the applicants will be the tieback to the disaster. This will be a narrative on how your community was affected. How does your project affect those impacts from the storm? And how will it foster community recovery? So as you review your applications, please make sure that you pay special attention to the project tieback and make sure that the narrative does read through the eyes of your community. And again, if you have any questions on anything, please throw them in the chat and we will address them either during the presentation or during the Q&A session. As with the pre-application, one of the questions on the applications asks for a clear project description. This response should document the project scope, explaining the construction involved, whether the project included acquisition, and a description of milestones and deliverables, and indicate the entity responsible for the operation and maintenance. So a lot of the projects stem around reconstruction of roads and bridges, as well as flood barricades. So as you do your project scope, please mix a nice balance of both technical and narrative information so that the person reviewing the document can understand what the project was and how it affected the mitigation and or recovery. DED will use information previously provided by the applicant in grants portal, and it is expected that the applicant add any additional details or changes to the scope of work that were not previously submitted in documentation. Moving on to project funding. Now, this table will look different than your original pre-application because we have to identify all of the CDBG-DR funds that have been requested. And those CDBG-DR funds will be on 32A and 32B. You will provide the 5% to 32A being your local funds. And again, DED will prep this for your application and you will review it for correctness. The required attachments for the application will be a project timeline. And again, we do understand that some of your projects have closed out, which would make your timeline a little bit easier to put in. But we do need a project timeline for all projects, whether they are completed or not, and a duplication of benefit certification and service area documentation. For your pre-application, you did provide a CSV file. However, we would like to make sure that that service area is correct. And again, DED will prep most of this and you will review it for correctness and accuracy. DED will prep the duplication of benefits form. And what we need to know here is that if you have any insurance or any donated resources and or private donations, that it is reflected on this table. If you have any questions about the duplication of benefits process or what constitutes a duplication of benefit, please refer to the guidance available on DED's website at opportunity.nebraska.gov. Along with your application for review, you will receive the duplication of benefits certification form. The affidavit will be sent at a later date, but this will need to be returned with the signed application. That's correct, Allison?
Yes, so there's a certification and an affidavit. The affidavit is notarized. So with the application, we will send out the certification that does not need to be notarized for signature, and that would be uploaded in the share file application folder along with the Excel application template. And then at a later date, the affidavit will be sent by DED for signature and notarization.
Thank you. The final step on the application is the authorization by the chief elected official. Directions to digitally sign the application will be provided. Once your chief elected official acknowledges the applicant's interest in participation in the match program, if your chief elected official or your jurisdiction or local entity has decided that they do not want to proceed into the application process, please let us know. as soon as that decision has been made. By signing the application, the authorized executive officer certifies that staff, contractors, vendors, and community partners of the CDBGDR initiative will comply with all of the HUD and Nebraska requirements and will work in a cooperative manner to execute the subrecipient agreement and certify that all of the information in the application is true and accurate. Once the application is completed, please follow the link that DED will send via the share file email to your application for funding folder. Please provide all required documentation within that same folder. Finally, please contact DED to confirm that the application has been completed and uploaded for DED final review. Next steps. Over the next few months, DED will be drafting the application and sending it to you for review for completion. DED will be conducting a detailed eligibility review. However, no action is required by the applicant during the detailed eligibility review. When you receive your application draft, DED will request that you review and sign it. Again, I do stress that please do not have the document signed until all of the edits have been made and the correct formatting has been reviewed. And with that, we'll move on to questions. I didn't see anything come through the chat, which makes me a little nervous. I hope I didn't put you guys to sleep today. Allison, Alicia, did you see anything come through?
No, I haven't seen any questions come through.
Okay. Well, in that case, if we have no questions, I do want to thank you for attending this webinar today. Again, my name is Tia Lofton. I am the Infrastructure Program Manager, and on your screen right now will be resources for additional information, including opportunity.nebraska.gov, which will have all of the CDBG-DR information on it, including what triggers duplication of benefits and other cross-cutting measures like Davis-Bacon and Section 3. And if you have any questions at all, please send it to ded.cdbgdr@nebraska.gov.
We do have one question that just came in to you.
Yeah, from Tim. Really nothing we can do until we get the application stuff from DED sometime between January and March, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
I also just want to add between January and March, similar to the tiering notifications that you all had received over the past month or two, the January to March timeframe is DED is moving these applications in tiers. So you can anticipate if you have a project that was in tier 1 to come in earlier. So we'll kind of be moving in that order. So yeah, those will be coming in at different points if you have projects in different tiers.
And again, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. And I saw something come through from, I think it was Carla.
Yes, Carla said, how soon will applications be due after the community receives it?
We are hoping that you will be able to have them at least edited the first time in about 2 weeks. We would like to see a full application signed if there's nothing wrong with it in 2 weeks. That's one of the reasons why we're trying to move to the digital signature, because sometimes coordinating with your elected officials to get that wet signature can be difficult.
I just want to add another reminder before we go about the tiering notifications that we mentioned. If you have not received them, please check share file. If your contact information has changed, we might have sent the letter to the previous contact from the pre-application phase. So that was between October and last week. You would have received any notifications of if you had any ineligible projects and tier 1, 2, and 3 projects. Every project should be on a letter. So if you are missing any or you received one letter but not another, please let DED know. Please email Tia and we will forward those messages to you again.
All right, then. If there are no further questions, you all have a wonderful day, and I hope to be hearing from you all soon, or at least moving forward with the funding process. So thank you all.